Hi, and welcome this beautiful afternoon to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio, TV, and Podcast. We are the #1 internet talk network in the world. This is Courageously You with Martha. I am your host, Martha Davis Alexander. I am an attorney. I am a certified life, business, money, and why coach. And I am really excited today because you guys get to hear from a really, really special guest. She's coming all the way from Canada, and I am really excited to, and she has stuff for you to do. So I'm really excited. This is going to be a fabulous show. So stay with me while I introduce her. Melissa Deely is an integrative mind, body, health practitioner. She's also trained in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. She has Line Therapy and Hypnotherapy. We're going to get into all of that. She's dedicated to helping her clients discover the root cause of their health issues and truly heal while detoxifying their physical, mental, and emotional bodies. Everything is 100% virtual, so you don't have to be in Canada to be treated by Miss Melissa. And she works with anyone who speaks English. And she sends, if you need lab work done, you get to do them at home. How fabulous is that? I did take my daughter to Quest this week, Melissa, and it was like a 4-hour wait to get tests. I'm like, you know what? Give them to me at home. I can get that done in no time at all. So I do want to also say that Melissa has been named to the 2022 CREA Global Award list. She is the winner, which, by the way, there was something that I got to go in and vote for her, and I did. I didn't tell you that I voted for you, but I did go in and vote for you. And she is the winner of the Alignable 2022 Local Business Person of the Year Award for Whistler and the 2021 Quality Care Award by Businesses from the Heart. Heavens to Murgatroyd. And if you guys want to listen to Melissa more, which you will, just know, she is the host of the Don't Wait for Your Wake Up Call podcast. It gives practical education around health, and it ranked in the top 5% of global podcasts by Listen Notes in the first 3 months of launching. So I am so excited to welcome Miss Melissa Deely. Melissa, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. And thank you, too, for voting for me. I really appreciate that. That's the Business from the Heart Awards for 2022 now. So
it was. I was like, oh, yeah, I know her. I know Melissa. She's fabulous. So I went in and voted for you, too. And you guys, too, can vote.
Absolutely can. Voting is from now until September 30th. So if you
vote?
Hear from me, then you can go ahead and vote at it's https and then the : business from the heart. Let me just double check this.
Business from the heart. Yeah.
It's .ca, but is it business? Yeah, businessfromtheheart.ca. The word awards is
which is California. So Colorado.
Canada.
Canada. It's also California, but in that case, it's Canada. So Melissa, we are going to talk about are your hormones making you crazy? And there was a time my hormones did. So let's talk about that. Tell me about hormones making women crazy.
Every woman has hormones, and yet we're not taught about them. And so that's why they make us crazy, because we have all of these symptoms and they're not really making us feel good, right? And we don't know what we can do about it. We try different things and it may not help. And the problem is that society normalizes these symptoms, right? You can go through any high school hallway and you will hear girls talking about their PMS.
Yes.
I know women in the corporate world from where I came from that didn't want to talk to anybody for 2 days of the month because they were worried that if they did, they might accidentally bite someone's head off, right? And they didn't want to be known as the bitch. And yet it's what they were just dealing with, how they were feeling inside their body because of their hormones. And then at the other end, we've got menopause, where so many women are struggling with hot flashes and night sweats and, even pain during intercourse and poor sleep. And it can, go down that path to low libido and depression even. And all of this we
Really?
accept as normal, and we'll write it off as it's menopause, right? And not realize we can do something about it. And so that's why I love talking about this and getting the message out that these symptoms are simply our body asking us to do something differently. And they're a sign that our hormones are out of balance. And we don't have to accept it as normal or as part of being a woman. We
Really?
can instead choose to do something about it.
So I'm 61. I've accepted that that's just part of being a woman, right? I was raised in Iowa, so had some Bible thumpers. Don't believe in it, but the curse
Right.
of Eve, right?
Yes.
That's just our punishment for being women or whatever it is, right?
Exactly.
That's just what we're supposed to live with. So I was the head of the PTA, and it was a winter stormy night. People were cold. They brought blankets into the library, and I went over and stood in the open doorway one night because I was dying. People were like, "What are you doing?" I'm running the meeting from here. It is way too hot in this room for me. And I had no idea what to do about it.
Right. Because unfortunately, we're not taught that. I mean, the education system does prepare girls for puberty through school and classes, etc., as best they can. And at least there's a venue where we can get that information to the girls, right?
Yeah.
But there isn't a venue where we can teach all women about menopause, because if you try and teach us when we're like 9 and 10 years old, we're never going to remember it. And then where else do we all come together to learn, right? And so there just isn't a venue where anybody is being taught about menopause. And so what do? We talk to our mothers, we talk to our sisters, we talk to our girlfriends, and they'll tell you their experience. And then if your experience includes the symptoms they had, you think it's normal, right?
Right.
And so many people are talking about hot flashes and night sweats and blah, 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 that it just becomes normalized, as opposed to recognizing that, oh, this is my body trying to ask me to do something differently. This is a sign my hormones are out of balance.
So what was my body asking me to do, Melissa?
So that's where actually the lab testing comes in. Your body's asking you to lab test so we get really clear answers. And when we have those answers, it's going to be showing us whether we're low or high in estrogen, low or high in progesterone. We could be low or high in testosterone. And all of those imbalances are triggering the symptoms. Sometimes just from a symptom assessment alone, we can figure out which way the hormones are going. But it's often difficult because low estrogen can look a lot like low progesterone. And then you don't know, or am I low in both? Am I low in one? Whereas the lab test, which is a saliva test, will tell you exactly. And that's really powerful information to have around your own body, because then we know exactly the next steps to take in rebalancing the body naturally. We don't have to do hormone replacement therapy, which can tend to then have the body stop producing hormones, because it's like, oh, you're giving it to me, I don't have to produce them. And then you become dependent on that for the rest of your life.
Yeah, both my mom and my stepmother took hormone replacement and were dependent upon it. And my stepmother ended up with breast cancer from it, right? And still and still has to take it now.
Right.
She can't just stop.
Right. And so that is not a path that, as a holistic practitioner, I direct people down. I direct people down using natural herbs that help the body start producing more of the hormone itself. And, it's typically about a 6-month to a 12-month time period during which we can rebalance the hormones. And it's a journey I've been on myself. I have struggled with migraines that have been hormonal ever since I was 18. I started getting them at university, but it was always at the onset of my cycle. And it wasn't until I got into my early 20s that I was working with a naturopathic doctor that I really understood it, because prior to that, I'd just been working with mainstream medical doctors who gave me drugs, right?
Yeah.
Here's a drug to make the migraine go away. And I didn't know any different at the time, and I was taking it. But I had a time where I started getting migraines every single day.
Yikes.
And so I went to the doctor going, this is different. And this isn't even at the onset of my cycle. Like, what's going on? And again, you probably just need a stronger prescription now, right? And I was like, no, I want to understand why they're suddenly worse. Because if I could understand the why, then I could do something about it, right? And I wasn't getting those answers, but I didn't want more drugs. And so that's when I actually found a naturopathic doctor and went and, gave her my whole health history. We spent an hour going through everything. And then she says, well, why don't we test your hormones? And I was like, yes, yes, like that's what I want. I want to understand this.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Right. And I didn't know about hormone testing prior to her saying that to me. And certainly my medical doctor had never suggested that. So I did the saliva testing, the same exact labs I offer my clients today, and found out my progesterone level was very low. And she gave me this disgusting tincture that I had to take a teaspoon of for 2 weeks of my cycle for 2 months. And after just the first 2 weeks, my migraines were pretty much gone. And after the 2 months, I didn't have migraines for 7 years because I'd rebalanced my progesterone and estrogen, right? And for me, the symptom was the migraine, right? Giving me something that would make me have enough pain that I would do something about it, right? But I didn't want to mask with the drugs. I wanted to find out the why. So that lasted for about 7 years. And then they came back again because our hormones are always changing, right? And so I went back to the naturopath and said, give me some more of that horrible stuff. And she wanted to do another full intake. And I'm like, no, they're exactly the same. Let me try that. If it doesn't work, I'll come back. It worked. And I was good for another however many years. When I hit menopause, the migraines came back, but they were different. And so this time I went back to her and said, we need to lab test because they're different. So it's not just low progesterone. I don't know what it is. So let's test and see. And sure enough, low estrogen, low progesterone, low testosterone. Very common at the onset of menopause, right? And I was starting to have some of those symptoms of, I didn't have hot flashes, but I was having night sweats. But once I knew what was going on, I was able to address it again. And so then I didn't have night sweats anymore. I wasn't having sleepless nights, etc. I wasn't having the migraines. And it's just a really powerful tool that many people don't know exist that can help us understand where the body's out of balance and why, right? And it's very, very powerful knowledge to have. So
you are very in tune with what your body was saying, right? You could say, I want to know the why.
mm-hmm.
I will speak for myself, but most of the people that I know, right, aren't as in tune with our body. So when we have pain having sex, right? So all right, this is going to be one of those discussions, people.
Yep.
Just get ready for it. Cece, it's okay. So when my husband and I first got together when we were dating, right, I had a lot of UTIs, and I would go in and say, and what I got from the nurse, literally from my doctor's nurse practitioner, was, then you shouldn't be having premarital sex, right? I'm 61. I was 30. That was only 30 years ago. That wasn't that long ago. That was in the 90s, early 90s, I admit, but 90s. And so I have never, ever gone back to a doctor with any complaints about anything female related. Right. I just have assumed that's just the way it is, and there's nothing you can do about it. So for instance, right, isn't something that I would have thought, maybe I have a hormone imbalance, maybe there's something I can do about it. So what are things that people can go, oh, that, right? Like I don't fall asleep at night, or what are the things, what are symptoms? What are signs that our body are telling us our hormones are out of whack and we need testing. We need to come see you for that.
Well, I can give you some, but I also want to say that in holistic health, it is very much looking for the the puzzle pieces, right? I'm a detective in trying to help people resolve things because, for instance, you gave an example of, poor sleep. That is a symptom of a hormonal imbalance, but it could be symptomatic of other things as well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's why when I work with people, I always do an initial complimentary consultation so that they can have that chance to let me know what's going on so we can start to narrow down the next best step for them. Is it hormone related? Is it maybe gut related? Is it something else, right? But we're talking about hormones today. So I've mentioned a few already of hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness, brain fog, poor sleep, memory issues,
Brain
poor
fog.
recall. Exactly, right?
What?
Memory issues, poor recall, right? Hair loss or thinning, low libido, tearful, depression, and then abnormal periods. That's a more obvious one for people.
Yeah,
Or
that would be one.
PMS,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So those are all common symptoms of low estrogen, right? We could have high estrogen, which can be mood swings, anxiety, irritability, nervousness, overwhelm, tender or fibrocystic breasts, uterine fibroids, weight gain in the hip area, and then again, changes in menstrual cycle. So, longer, heavier periods tend to be the case there. Possible bloating, right? Then we can go into
So my daughter, you just described my daughter to a complete T in that one.
so then that would be something that I want to look at is that,
Yeah.
is she in a place of high estrogen?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a minute, though, because high estrogen is very common in today's world for a number of reasons. So first of all, when we are in a state of chronic stress, which many people are in today's world, our body will end up in a place of having more estrogen than relative to progesterone and what we call estrogen dominance. And the body can feel like it's high in estrogen. And the reason that happens is when we're in that state of chronic stress, we're trying to get to safety. The brain is wanting to get us to safety, right? And so in order to get us to safety, it has to start producing adrenaline, cortisol, so we have the power to fight or flight, right? Flee. To have the energy for us to do that, it has to shut down other systems that take energy. It shuts down digestion because we don't care about the sandwich we just ate. It shuts down immunity in that moment. It's shutting down procreation because we're not stopping to make a baby when we have to get to safety, right? So what happens
Yeah.
is something called the progesterone steal, which means the body makes more cortisol to get us to safety at the expense of making progesterone. And so our estrogen progesterone can get out of balance. And when estrogen is relatively too high, we get those symptoms I just mentioned. So that's just one reason why estrogen can end up too high. It can all go ahead.
You know what? I was just my thought, right? It makes so much sense. But with respect to teenagers, right? My daughter's 18, and with respect to teenagers, since the time she got her period, right? That kids don't feel safe in schools now, right? I mean, they are on constant
They're
fight or flight.
Exactly.
Constant.
Exactly.
That is just that lever is just flipped.
Yep.
So it's an interesting, I never thought about what chemically or hormonally what that causes in your body and how that can impact you until right now. So sorry to interrupt. Go ahead with the whatever. Sorry.
So I was going to talk another reason why we end up with high estrogen, but I just want to take that to the next level is look at the fertility rates in our world today. They're dropping like crazy and, people are having a hard time getting pregnant. And we're not going to get pregnant and hold that pregnancy if our progesterone is low because the body needs that progesterone to create the womb to nourish and hold the baby, right?
That is so interesting to me. I went through infertility, never got pregnant. But I evidently what I needed was something else. Or perhaps what I needed was something else. Can't second guess now.
Right.
But that is so interesting to me.
And so that is a problem in the world, is because it's being caused by that low progesterone, high estrogen, because we're in the chronic fight or flight state. And again, we aren't taught this, so people don't know, right?
Right?
And when they do know, they can do something about it. We can, help the body rebuild up the progesterone levels while also helping the body calm and get out of that chronic stress state through some herbs, but also through some activities that are helping to calm the body, right? And when people are wanting to get pregnant, they'll do that.
We have to do a commercial break, and I cannot wait to get back into this discussion, because it's like opening this whole new world about my body that maybe I should have known, but I have never known. It's not talked about, and
exactly.
The doctors don't. I've never had anyone tell me this. Well, you have. I have talked to you before, but in general, right? This is not talked about, so I cannot wait to come back. So stay tuned, you guys. We're talking about, are your hormones driving you crazy, with my very special guest, Melissa Deely. This is the Going Solo Media. This is Courageously You with Martha. You can reach Melissa at https, the :/ Linktree, and that's linktr.ee/your guided health journey / and here they're not glasses. Or you can email her at melissa@yourguidedhealthjourney.com. Did I say that right? yourguidedhealthjourney.com.
That is correct.
And you can reach me at marthadalexander@gmail.com, or at my website, courageouslyoucoaching.com. Or if you want to text me, you can always do that at 805-422-6865. We love hearing from you. And you're going to want to stick around, because Melissa has something she's giving you. I know, I saw it in the intro materials. So you're going to want to stick around. I promise you want to stick around for this. We will be right back after these brief messages. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. We are back, you guys. This is the WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I'm Martha Alexander. This is Courageously You with Martha, and I have a very, very, very special guest. And we're talking Melissa Deely, and we're talking all about hormones. And are your hormones driving you crazy? And I didn't even know it's my hormones that are driving me crazy. So pay attention, listen up. Let's see what else we can find out, Melissa.
So yes, I wanted to give another reason why our estrogen levels can be high in today's world. And that is because of toxins in our world. So since World War II, we've had 144,000 man-made chemical toxins introduced into our world, right?
That's a horrid statistic.
Isn't it? And our human body just doesn't adapt that quickly. And so what that's doing is it's bogging down our liver and its ability to do its job well and move those toxins through and out of our body. And when it can't do that properly, it will end up having to store them in our body just to keep our blood safe from those toxins. And it'll store it in our fat tissues, right? So that can be some people's reason for weight gain. But some of those toxins are things we put on our skin. So personal care products, a lot of them have something called xenoestrogens in them, which basically mimic estrogen in the body. And when we put something on our skin, it takes only 26 seconds for it to get into our bloodstream. And then it's in our body, and our body is having this xenoestrogens coming in, and that's basically raising our estrogen level in the body because it's mimicking estrogen relative to our progesterone again, right?
Yeah.
And our liver, one of its 500 different purposes is to detox the excess estrogens from our body. But because of all those chemical toxins that are getting into our body through our waterways, our airways, our food, et cetera, it can't do that properly. And so we end up with having too much estrogen in our body, again, relative to the progesterone, which is triggering all of these symptoms, PMS, infertility, menopausal problems. So clinically, in the work that I do when I run lab tests for my clients, I very, very rarely see people with a normal level of progesterone. And if I see it, it's usually because they're already using some kind of progesterone supplement. Otherwise, I just see low progesterone, high estrogen, which is a major cause of infertility and the struggle that people are suffering through with night sweats, and hot flashes and all those symptoms that I read earlier, low libido, vaginal dryness, et cetera, et cetera. So I love talking about this because I want people to know. I want people to know that these symptoms are not normal, that we don't have to accept them as being a woman, as you talked to earlier, and that we can do something about it in order to put all of those symptoms behind us and get back to living life fully and feeling amazing and ditching the brain fog and the poor sleep, et cetera, and living in the prime of years of our life, feeling like vibrant human beings.
So detox is a big part of your practice.
Yeah.
We've talked about that. So what are some things that listeners can do right after they're done listening? Don't go do it until Melissa's done, because we got stuff to talk about. But what are things that people can do to start paying attention?
And start paying attention and detoxing. So
yeah.
Start paying attention to those symptoms. We just get so busy in life that we accept them and we keep pushing through and we keep doing the same thing we've always done. So I do invite you to pay attention and just say, hey, why do I have this symptom right now? Or to just make notice of that symptom. And so my quiz, which is my gift that I'm sharing with people,
Awesome.
Discover Your Toxic Load quiz, that starts to create the awareness because it asks you all of these symptoms and you can answer as to how often you feel them and notice them, and it'll just put it in the top of your mind for you. And then you'll start to be more aware of it. And then you can start to take action, right? In terms of some action steps that you can start taking right away, well, first of all, most of the population doesn't hydrate enough. And hydration is really important for the body and the brain. You've got yours, I've got mine here. The brain is largely made up of fat and water, right? Remember I said that the body will store toxins in our fat tissues to protect our bloodstream from it? We don't want our toxins stored in our brain or in our breast tissue, which in women is another place where we have a lot of fat tissue, right? So hydration is really important because it helps to flush the body, and we want to ensure we're getting enough hydration. Easy place to start. And by hydration, I'm being very specific in what I'm talking about. I'm talking about water. You can flavor that with the juice of, a lemon or a lime or an orange or something like that, but it's not full of chemicals. It's not full of sugars like energy drinks are or pop, right? Coffee is not hydrating to the body. So I'm not talking about coffee or caffeinated drinks either. And of course, I'm not talking about alcoholic beverages because they also are not hydrating to the body. But herbal
Well,
teas,
aren't you taking a lot of things out?
aren't I? I know I'm the party pooper here, but herbal teas are fabulous. Waters that you can flavor them, as I said, fabulous. If you have a
But if you're going to flavor them, you're saying flavor them with something that is healthy, like
yes,
a fresh fruit juice,
yeah.
not something in a powder that you put in.
No, not those crystal powder things, definitely not. But yes, the juice of, squeezing a lemon, a lime, and orange into it, perfect. And the other thing people may not realize is that our body absorbs room temperature water far better than cold water. So drinking things that are room temperature or warmer is going to help your body absorb it and benefit from it more and just have that flushing effect on the body. And we should be drinking 50% of our body weight in water every single day. And that's not at a detox level. That's every day, right? So if you weigh 100 pounds, half of that is 75 pounds. So you should be drinking 75 ounces every day, which is
That's 50. 100 pounds is 50 ounces.
Sorry, I meant 150 pounds.
Okay. I'm like, that's really thin.
Yes.
Sure.
150 pounds is more the average adult.
Yeah.
Okay. So half of that is 75 pounds.
Yeah.
So you should be drinking 75 ounces.
Yeah.
Which is 9.5 cups of water, right? And most people aren't drinking that much water. Now, if you want to
go ahead.
Yeah. If you want to be drinking at a detoxing level, you want to increase that to 2/3 your body weight. So when I guide people through my detox programs, that's what we do. 2/3 our body weight. So now that 150-pound person, 2/3 is 100 pounds. So that's 100 ounces of water, which is 12.5 cups of water now, right? To flush the body. Easy places for people to start. And people are like, oh, I'll be in the washroom all day, every day if I do that. Our body is like a sponge. So yes, initially, if you haven't been hydrating enough, you're like the dry sponge you just bought brand new at the store and you have to hold it underwater for a good 2 to 3 minutes before it becomes absorbent. Your body is the same, but over the course of the first week, as you increase your water intake, your body will become more absorbent and you won't spend all day, every day in the washroom. I promise you.
So I do put a lot of ice in my water. I really do like cold. I like to chew ice too, right? So I've heard the room temperature before. I just don't do it. So am I getting less water absorbed? Am I absorbing less water than I am drinking?
Yes, relative to if you were drinking warmer water. However, what I am going to say to people is do what works for you. I'd rather you drink the water with the ice than not drink it at all because you don't want to be drinking warm water, right? And then maybe as you go into the colder months, maybe then you're going to be able to, drink warmer water. I don't know, but I get it in summer.
I do my herbal tea as well.
Right.
So
yeah, so you can do a blend, right? Have some herbal teas, some water. I'd just rather people be drinking it. So that's one really easy thing that people can start right away. And then a tip for that to help people, because I know all habit change is hard, is tracking how much water you're drinking. Well, you can buy water containers that actually have the hours of the day marked on them. I've seen them on Amazon.
really?
So you can buy that and then it'll show like you should have drunk this much by 10 a.m. and this much by noon and this much by 2 p.m. So you could invest in one of those to help you stay on track. That's probably based on the 50% your body weight kind of thing, but it helps you know how much you're drinking. And again, that's what's important to get you started.
So 2/3 my weight to detox.
Is to detox. So that's when I take people through a detox program, that's what we're doing. And then I'm using herbs and things that are detox formula to further help the body do what it needs to do, supporting the liver in detox, phase 2 of detoxification. So it's a full program that I guide people through, a functional medicine detox program.
Yeah.
But just for getting started, they can start with drinking water.
So you mentioned, right, because your skin is your largest organ on your body, right? So you mentioned that, and you mentioned that there are products. Is there a place where people can go, either on your website or somewhere, to get a list of either ingredients that are bad for you or that raise your estrogen? I mean, really, it's about the information, right? So that people can look and go, oh, like I was using a shampoo and my husband said top 10 worst shampoos you can ever use ever. And I went,
Right.
oh, well, I guess that one's going to get thrown out, right?
Yeah. So on my website, I don't have a list of ingredients to look for. What I have is a list of different products that I recommend, different companies that I recommend. And there are many more companies starting up these days. So we have so many more choices than we did even 10 years ago when it comes to using clean products. And I love that you brought it up, because that was the next step that I wanted to suggest, is start changing the products that you're using and that you're putting on your skin, or the chemicals that you're using to clean your house, so that we're not getting all of these toxins inside our body in the first place. So if you go to yourguidedhealthjourney.com, there's a tab that says resources. And underneath resources, there's another tab that says my recommendations. And you can scroll down there, and I mention a number of different companies with clean products, and not only cleaning products and personal care products, but bedding and mattresses and all sorts of things, like how to protect yourself from, EMF from your phones. There's all sorts of recommendations there just to help us lower the toxic load on our body. But there's also another site called the Environmental Working Group, which is ewg.org. And they're a nonprofit company that has been around for probably 15 or 20 years now, that is trying to do this, from food products to personal care products to cleaning products, and they rate them so that you can go there, and maybe that's where your husband got the top 10
I don't know where he got it from.
Maybe he got it from there, because they will rate the products as to whether they're safe or unsafe, et cetera, et cetera. So that's another great source for, people can go to and look at. And I'm not somebody that says you have to throw everything out all at once and have this great, huge expense buying everything that's clean. But as you are finishing up products, start doing the research as to what you can replace it with. And very slowly over the course of the next year, you'll be able to replace everything and have clean makeup, clean, shampoos, clean face washes and moisturizers, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, the average woman is putting on over 200 toxic chemicals onto her skin as she gets ready for her day.
So, it's interesting, because we moved not that long ago. And I had leftover cleaning stuff, and I'd put it out for my recycle dude to take, right? The garbage. Right. And he came to my door, very nice man, came to my door and said, "Ma'am, we don't take hazardous waste." I said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, all those cleaning things, those all have to go to hazardous waste." And I'm like, I looked at my husband, and we do use mostly clean stuff. I bought a shampoo because I was struggling with some dandruff. I'll just be really vulnerable here. And I wanted something to deal with that. And I went, "I am cleaning my house with hazardous waste. What is
right?
Right? I was cleaning my house with hazardous waste. Just let that sink in for a minute as to how horrible that is.
So I know. And isn't that crazy that it's allowed to be sold in the store on the shelf for you to buy to clean your house with, but then down the line, it's not allowed to be just thrown out with your household garbage, because now it's hazardous. The empty bottle is more hazardous than the full bottle that was sold in the store that you can use to clean your house with, right?
Well, it's like, it's crazy. I won't even go down that aisle in the grocery store anymore, because you can just, it just doesn't work. So those are great tips. I love those. Do you also have recommendations for water? So here's the thing. I moved to Southern California. When we lived where we lived, we had the best water ever, right? It had nothing in it. It was just phenomenal water. I had better water when I was younger, and it came from the ground spring that, whatever. But now my water is like chlorinated. It's more chlorinated than my pool is. I don't even know why we chlorinate our pool. The water is so chlorinated. You can see on counters, right, the chlorine residue, right? So is a Brita or something like that sufficient to get the water without getting the toxins? It gets really complicated these days.
It does. And a Brita is probably not sufficient. Certainly it'll get some, but it's not going to get all the toxins. And our water, our tap water, our municipal tap water is actually quite toxic. That chlorine is starting to impact our thyroid because, and if you have fluoride in your water as well, you've got a double whammy negative impact on your thyroid. So, gee, I wonder why we have so many thyroid issues in the world today, right? Because our thyroid needs iodine and chlorine and bromine and fluoride are all in the same line of the chemical chart. And what happens is the body thinks it's, getting what it's needing, and they're blocking the uptake of the iodine. And that's what the thyroid needs, and it doesn't need the others. So yes, all of these things are not healthy. We can have aluminum in our water. That's a neurotoxin, right? So I run labs. I run a metals and minerals lab test. And so I can see when some of these toxins are showing up in the body. And, then we can help detox the body. But in terms of cleaning our water, we need to have a water filter in the house that we can put into the tap or against the main water coming into the house. There's different kinds that you can get. And that's what I would highly recommend, even in your shower, because again, it's getting into our skin. And so if you have highly chlorinated water and you're showering in that all the time, it's in your bloodstream in 26 seconds. So
I noticed that from this house. Then we went on a cruise, and I said, there is something wrong with our water. When the water on the cruise ship, my hair is softer and less dry.
Right.
So we had to go to something, but it really took us stepping outside of our environment for a week for me to
notice
a difference in what was going on.
Absolutely. And so I would just encourage people to investigate water filtration systems for their houses, especially if they're living in large metropolises. You can also, in many places, get your water tested as well.
Right. Or in Jackson, Mississippi, where they have no potable water. But that was
right.
only last night. Jackson, Mississippi has no potable water.
Not good.
So summarize, right? What people can do, they got to drink water. You can test for all the things in our body so we know where we stand right now. And then you can actually help us kind of investigate, detect, figure out where that stuff is coming from, the common things. You can ask us about what we're putting on our body and what we're doing, and you have recommendations for ways of taking down that toxic, right? Reducing that toxic weight on our body and our environment.
Absolutely. And so whenever I work with people, it's never just one appointment, right? It's with our doctors, it's very often one appointment. They go, here, do this, and they send you on your way. But the work that I'm doing, it's deeper. It can take a while. And I'll say I generally work with people for anywhere between 4 and 6 months. And that might sound like a long time, but when you can optimize your health in just 4 to 6 months, considering how long it's taken you to get where you're at today, that's actually a really short amount of time, right?
Yeah.
So yes, we're doing a detox. We're running a lab test or more lab tests. And then I'm writing a wellness protocol for you. And we're looking at, okay, let's address the biggest rocks first. And then, take it into the medium size and then the smaller rocks over that time that we're working together, and guiding you through that process, having, monthly check-ins so that that there is somebody out there that's checking in on you, and that you're making this commitment to yourself, but also to another person, because we tend to let ourselves down when nobody else knows. So it won't matter if I just quit, right? But when someone else knows, you are much more likely to follow through. And what I love about our human body is that when we start creating the environment for it to heal, it will heal quickly. And so then you start to notice that you're feeling better, and then that motivates you to keep going. It's when you try this and it doesn't work, and you try that and it doesn't work, and you try that, it doesn't work, that you kind of get let down. But when you're working with someone that's guiding you, so you can relax into the process, that allows the body to heal in and of itself. The body doesn't heal in a stressed out state. And you allow yourself to be guided, and you've got someone checking in with you, right? that's when the body can truly heal. And I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose, I don't cure, I don't heal. What I do is I help discover where the body's out of balance, guide it back into balance, and then it takes over and heals itself.
So what I want to make kind of bring this to is just like how you eat an elephant, it's one bite at a time. So you guys don't feel it's a lot of information in 45 minutes. And I want the audience, our listeners, to know that they can get a toxic load test quiz from you, and that's the start.
Yes.
Start drinking water, and then just start there.
Yes.
And then it's one bite at a time, one step at a time. It's not an overnight thing. It's a little bit at a time. And Melissa is the guide on the path, taking you one step at a time to balance your hormones, to detox your body, to do all of that we all really need. So please tell us about your quiz. I want people to be able to get that before we.
So the quiz, hopefully you have the link so you can drop it somewhere. Otherwise, perfect.
There it is.
It's in if they go to the link tree, they will find it there. So that's perfect. So it'll take about 10 minutes. It's 105 questions. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's really quick and easy to answer. And all the answers are, for most of those questions, are the same. And it's just asking you symptoms. Do you have this? Do you have it daily, weekly, 1 to 2 times a month, or less often? And through all of these symptoms. And so I get those results. You get the results too. It'll give you a score, a toxic load score. If your score is high and it's telling you that your toxic load is moderate or severe, don't panic, because the human body is so forgiving that you're here, you have this toxic load. Now you can do something about it. And that's the most powerful thing, is that knowledge, right?
Right.
When you take action and you do something about it, we can mitigate all of those symptoms that you've just said that you've had, that you probably weren't paying attention to.
Yeah, not paying attention. So I want you guys to Linktree, linktr.ee/ whichever the slashes are, your guided health journey / So, and if you go to your guided health journey, it's also there, yourguidedhealthjourney.com / your toxic load, right?
Yep.
So you guys take it. Melissa is amazing. She's heart-centered. She's not going to email you every 2 minutes. She's out to help people who want to be helped. So take the quiz and see. She's amazing. And you have been such a delightful guest to have, and so much information. And I'm going to retake the test, because I bet I have more things that I want to talk about. So it's going to be
do that. And thank you so much for having me. And I will say that after they take the quiz, I do invite you to a call. It's a complimentary call just to discuss, next steps and some tips for your specific symptoms. You do get emails just for 1 week, and it's just educational emails around how toxins are impacting our long-term health. And people just need to know that, because then they can make better choices.
It's all education. There is no hard pressure sell. I'm just going to tell you, I know that because I know Melissa. So just take the test, take the quiz, and see what your load is. You guys, here's to your health. Melissa, any last words for people?
I just invite you to get started. I want to say thank you for listening, but the most important thing is just to get started. And as you said, Martha, one step at a time. Your health is your greatest asset. You can't live your best life if you're on a path of chronic illness. So let's just stop that path and bring you back so that you can get out there every single day and feel amazing.
Yeah. Really well said. Thank you so much, Melissa. Guys, we got to go. I could talk to Melissa for another hour about health, but I don't have that time. This is Courageously You with Martha. Meet me right back here next week for a very exciting episode of Courageously You with Martha. You can reach me at marthadalexander@gmail.com or courageouslyu.com. or 805-422-6865. I always love hearing from you guys. And if you want to reach our guest, again, Melissa Deely, and she is at yourguidedhealthjourney.com. You can put the link tree in there, linktr.ee, your guided health journey / and you guys take the quiz, take it and find out. It's your opportunity for a free consult and to find out where you are and what you can do. All right, guys, until next week. See you later. Have a great week.